Home. 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 Greetings, friends. It's Josh.
And I'm Ryan.
And we're here today on the Dead Tired Dads podcast, and I want to thank you, before we get started, I want to thank you for listening. It really means a lot to me that you're here today, and I want to announce my candidacy for President of the United States of America.
You got my vote.
That's a joke. You can laugh at that. But you heard it here first if it does happen.
You know what? I had a comment, but I'm just gonna not.
Okay.
I'm just gonna not.
Leave that one to yourself.
Yeah, I'm just gonna.
All right. Good deal. But anyway, this is a podcast for gamers who don't have time to game, not for United States presidents. If you are a president listening to this, I've got some requests.
Please call me. Please.
Send us a message on Facebook.
Please. Or Twitter, whichever one you use.
Yeah. All right, we're going off the rails already. This is a good time.
Man, that was quick. All right, we'll catch you guys next week.
It's a great episode already. All right, so...
Nice.
So anyway, this is a podcast for gamers who don't have time to game, and for parents and for busy people who like to play games but just can't fit it in. And we want to help find games for you that you can play in your limited time that we think are worth your time. So
True.
So Ryan, anything fun and interesting going on?
I've made a huge mistake.
Oh no!
Yeah, I've made a huge mistake.
Tell me about your huge mistake.
Well, I've already admitted this to you and Matt, but I recently started playing Star Wars: The Old Republic again.
Gosh, that's bad.
Huge mistake.
Yeah, sounds it.
I so far I have managed to hold it at bay. You know, just play in short bursts. But if you're not familiar with it, it is a Star Wars MMO.
Yeah, it's Star Wars World of Warcraft.
Essentially, basically. Yeah. And my wife always tells me that for the non-gamers who listen, I should explain the acronyms. So MMO means Massive Multiplayer Online. So it's Star Wars with a million people running around being
Jedi,
Siths and Jedis.
Yeah. That does sound dangerous.
It is dangerous. So, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to fill us in a few, maybe sometime next month or something after,
When it's the only thing I'm playing
and
I've deleted all other games. I'm not sleeping anymore.
So, Ryan, I have a question for you that's completely unrelated to
here we go.
To Star Wars or MMOs. So when you're eating, when you go out to eat at a restaurant...
Yes, I love when we go to food on this show.
Yes. When you go to eat at a restaurant, do you have, a bubble that you feel like you have to have, around you?
Before children, yes.
Well, no,
Like a physical space? Don't touch me?
I ask because, in my general everyday life, I don't, around my house and whatever... I don't care how close my kids can be right up on me, and most of the time, it's fine. I'm good.
Yeah.
When I go out to eat at a restaurant, I need space to
back
eat
off
my food.
Yeah.
My daughter
does not respect your
has
space.
gotten to the point where it's literally she just butts up right against me to eat her food, and I'm like, honey, you have to scoot over. I can't. I can't move my elbow to pick up my fork to eat. You need to scoot. You are too close to. There is a whole bench here.
Yeah.
Go to the other side of the booth. And I was just curious if this was a phenomenon that's common amongst all children, or if this is just an issue that I'm having with my particular situation.
I haven't had that issue with either of my kids.
Okay.
Now, the one is still only 3 years old, and so that's,
Sure.
Our older son, the older of two, he, for the most part, he likes to be left alone. So, like, if we're at home playing, if we're at a restaurant, he likes his own space, too.
Sure.
So he doesn't want to crowd my space because then he's crowding his own space. I don't know about the 3-year-old yet.
See, like, that's the thing, though, with my daughter. She doesn't seem to realize that I'm in her space, too. Like, it's like she has her back to me and is, like just, like, sidled up to me. Yeah. And I'm like, honey, like, and I've talked with her about it. I was like, honey, like, there are times where, like, you want to be left alone, like, when we're eating, like, you need to make sure that you're respecting, like, the people around you and not, like... But, like... And it's this thing where, like, she'll inch over. Like, I don't know that she's doing it on purpose. It's just, like, she just kind of inches over to me, like, as she's eating. It she, like, ends up almost in my lap, it feels like. And I'm like, honey, I need to eat. I need you to scooch. So, I don't know.
There you go.
It's just a weird thing for me. I need a personal bubble.
It's not what I thought you were going to ask.
Oh, what did you think I was
I thought you were going to ask, when you go to a restaurant, do you have a default thing that you order? Like, when you walk into a restaurant, do you already know what you're going to order, or do you look at the menu?
Well, do you?
Oh, to my wife's annoyance, when we go somewhere, if I've been there before, don't even waste your time bringing me a menu.
Oh, really?
If you tell me tomorrow, let's meet for lunch at wherever, I already know what I'm ordering.
Okay.
Yeah.
That actually surprises. That's a surprise answer to me.
Yeah. I walk into a restaurant knowing what I'm going to order.
It's amazing how much we learn on this podcast about each other.
No, my wife will look at the menu. She'll try new things.
Yeah.
Not me. I know what I'm ordering.
Yeah, no, I'm mostly the same way. That if I'm going to a place, I generally know exactly what I'm going to get. So.
The exception to that is any kind of international restaurant, whether it's Mexican food, Italian food, whatever. Because I travel internationally a lot for work, and so I want to know what these various foods are, so that when I travel, I know if I like them or not.
Right, and that way you can also not offend people.
Exactly. But otherwise, if we go to a standard restaurant that we've been to before, I walk in knowing what I'm going to order.
Yeah, that's generally how I am. I'm actually kind of the opposite, I think. If I'm going to an international restaurant, I have things that I know that I want.
This is safe.
Like, this is what I'm going to get when I go to this restaurant. Any Thai restaurant I go to, I get the same thing.
I love Thai food.
So American restaurants, I actually would have more of a tendency to look at the menu to kind of graze on, like, maybe that would be good tonight. And that probably has something to do with my I don't know. That's
the one I struggle with the most, actually, like barbecue restaurants.
Yeah.
Because I like all of those things.
Sure.
So anyway.
Interesting. So okay. So that's our take on restaurants this week. Yep. So if you want to take Ryan out to eat sometime, get him a menu beforehand.
Yep. And then throw it away.
That's actually a funny thing. One thing that I found out recently is that my father-in-law actually, in order to kind of just make it a less hectic situation when he goes into a restaurant, he'll look at the menu before he goes.
That's a good idea.
And know what he wants before he goes to the restaurant. So,
yeah.
I found that out. Like I said, I found that out fairly recently.
That is a good idea.
I thought that was an interesting take on things, because it just then there are no questions, unless you have questions about the food, But
yeah.
Anyway, so that's our take on food ordering at restaurants and personal spaces.
Yeah.
Personal space at a restaurant.
Restaurant experiences.
Need it. Yeah. I need it.
There you go.
I love going out to eat. We go out to eat too much, though.
False.
Well, which one? That I love going out to eat, or that we go out to eat too much?
Go out to eat too much.
Oh, okay. Okay, if you say so.
No such thing.
Well, with that, why don't we dive into our reviews?
All right.
Do you want to go first, or should I go first?
I'll go first this time.
You go first. Ryan's going first.
All right. So, kind of for the second week in a row, I'm going to talk about a game that I didn't think I would talk about.
Okay.
But I am talking about it because it's coming to Nintendo Switch.
Oh, that's two games. That is two games that I wrote that we're talking about, but basically because they're coming to the Switch. So score.
I am reviewing Persona 5 Royal.
Had that not been out on the Switch?
Not on the Switch.
Oh,
nope.
Okay.
Which I don't know why, because it'd be perfect for the Switch. But it's not confirmed yet, but there's lots and lots of rumors.
As of the recording of this podcast, it's not confirmed yet.
Lots of credible rumors, and even like the game developer is like being very coy on Twitter, like, we might have something to announce on such and such date.
Yeah.
So,
gotcha.
It's coming. It's happening. So, if you're not familiar, because not all gamers would necessarily be familiar with the Persona franchise, Josh, I expected you wouldn't be, because not only is it an RPG, it's a JRPG, a Japanese role-playing game.
RPG. Yeah. So yeah, I actually went into, like, at one point when I was looking for games at GameStop, the person who was like trying to help me like kept trying to recommend Persona 5 to me for the PS4, and I was like, I don't think that's my thing, but like it was literally like something like every time I went in there, she was like, oh, you thinking about that game? And I'm like, no, I'm not. But that's how I know about it, is because,
to her credit, it's a great game and she should recommend it to you. But if she knew you at all, she would not recommend it to you. It is a role-playing game, an RPG, a role-playing game, and it's a very, very long one.
Very long RPG.
So I looked it up on How Long to Beat, and if you're familiar with that website, it'll tell you like how long if you just play the main story, how long if you want to do 100% completionist, everything in between. Just the main story, 103 hours. Yeah,
I don't have that kind of time, Ryan.
Now, granted, I am referring to the Royale edition, Persona 5 Royal, which is sort of like their deluxe edition. Okay. But still, I'm sure the regular edition is probably 60 to 80.
Okay.
So,
yeah. No. That's a long game, Ryan.
It's a very long game. In fact, I'll just go ahead and say now that in none of the categories that we usually talk about does this game fit the Dead Tired Dad's scale, if you will.
Does not meet our criteria.
It's violent. Lots of swords, guns. The violence is cartoonish, but it's still obvious what's happening.
Okay.
It's very dark. All the Persona games are very dark. In fact, Persona 3, the main character, the way he activated his special skill is he shot himself in the head.
That activates his
special skill. Yeah.
Is his special skill resurrection?
You have to understand about these games, when you're in like a typical RPG dungeon, if you will, it's in an alternate universe. So it's not really happening.
So he's not really shooting himself in the head.
Correct. It's just happening in an alternate universe. But
So in an alternate universe, he has to kill himself so that I won't get into it. That's confusing.
They're dark.
Okay, so special skills of resurrection, got it. That's all I'm taking away.
In this game, the alternate universe sort of reveals people's like deepest sins, if you will.
Okay.
So one of the bosses that you face is like, he's a teacher at the school, and he has been attempting to woo some of the young female students.
Yes.
And so then in the alternate universe, when you fight him, he is like wearing boxers with like little hearts on them, and he has no shirt on, and he's like Mr. Suave. So
statutory rape is not something that is funny.
Yeah,
and,
so
that man should be
the game is dark. It's a very dark game. Like I said, it doesn't meet any of our typical criteria. They're very adult games.
Yeah. Okay. And it's very long.
And they're very long.
So
they're well done. They're well done games. The story is very intriguing. You find yourself wanting to know what happens next.
Sure.
When it starts, they're very like narrow and linear, but it opens up to a pretty open world. And so there's all these sort of side quests and side activities you can do. You're always a high school student in these games. And so there's all these things you can do with your friends, like go to the arcade, go to the movies, go out to eat, stuff like that. So part of the strategy is you have to balance your quote-unquote normal life with this alternate universe life.
Gotcha.
They're really good games. They're really fun games, but they're all very, very long, and they're dark, and yeah. So they don't meet our criteria for what we would recommend to somebody. If you've got the time or you don't have kids in the house, go for it. But yeah, otherwise,
is it worth the time? Even though
I've played Persona 4 and Persona 5. Here's my take on them. They're really good. For those of you who have a Nintendo Switch, I would recommend it for Switch. Because when I played 4, I played it on, of all things, the PS Vita.
Okay.
So again, I played it while I was traveling for work.
Sure.
I was sitting on 10-hour, 15-hour plane rides.
Right.
With nothing to do and nowhere to go. So that's easy.
Yeah.
But, make of that what you will. I think they're worth playing if you have the ability. If you don't have little kids in the room watching, if you can pay attention because they're very story heavy.
Sure.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Wow.
If you can handle the dark aspects of it, because there are some people who are like, this is too...
Yeah.
Like I mentioned the Persona 3, there were some of the criticism of it was like, hey, I struggled with suicide and now you're putting this image, and so they couldn't play it. So then that's a very fair criticism.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds like an interesting game. Is it turn-based?
It is not no, I take that back. Some of them are. So, I don't know how to answer that.
Well, we're talking about 5, technically speaking. So, is 5 turn-based?
5 is turn-based, but when you're in the dungeon, if you will, you can sneak up on enemies. Mm-hmm. And if you hit them first before they see you, you get, like, special boosts and stuff. So, like, that aspect of it isn't turn-based.
Okay.
But then once you're in the battle, yes, it's turn-based.
Okay, so definitely not a game for Josh.
Not for Josh.
Not for Josh. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, good deal. So that's Persona 5. Ryan gives it's too long and not kid-friendly. And if you've got the time and not kids, play it. But otherwise, be cautious.
Yeah. So I'm very interested in, like I said, it's not confirmed yet, but it's all but confirmed that it's coming to the Switch, which I think is a good thing because these are games that are made for... If you can take this game with you, it's much easier to complete. Yeah. Because,
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. All right. Well, I will go ahead and talk about my game then, which I think might be on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. So, I want to talk about a game I recently have had an opportunity to play through Microsoft Game Pass, which is a glorious thing.
Game Pass.
Because this is a newer game that I was excited about when I heard it, and I've been excited to get to play it. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. And I just remembered a story that was supposed to go along with this. And
tell it now.
I'm going to tell it now and extend the length of this episode. Yay. So we gave you a few minutes back on a previous episode a few weeks ago. Now we're taking that time back.
Give us our time back.
So this also involves my daughter. And so one of my proudest things about being a father is that I have been able to pass on the love for certain TV shows to my children, to at least my daughter thus far. I haven't gotten my son into anything yet, but my daughter loves, and I mean absolutely loves, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
As she should.
Which makes me very happy. And she has mostly watched one of the later versions of the show. Not the newest one, because I told her that she couldn't, because I watched a little bit of it and I was like, this is stupid. This is awful. But it was the previous incarnation. I think it probably came out in 2010, but I'm not positive on that. Anyway, But she does love the originals as well, because I have all of the originals on DVD.
Nice.
And so I started her on those originals. So, anyway, my daughter is apparently in love with Leonardo.
Okay. All right.
And is going to marry him.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not sure exactly how I feel about interspecies, relationships, but I guess when your daughter's 6, it's okay.
I mean, normally it's weird, but it's a Ninja Turtle, Josh. I mean,
right. And then the version of the shows that she watches mostly, it's the Donnie has a crush on and I guess they've always had a crush on April, but like Donnie in that series, like Donnie is like full on I'm totally in love with April.
Yeah.
So anyway, the new game is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Shredder's Revenge.
Yep.
Which is a throwback to the classic arcade Ninja Turtles game, and let me just say that it is a masterpiece in nostalgia.
Nice.
It has all of the a lot of the same music from the show. Several of the voice actors, as far as I can tell, reprise their roles as the Turtles. In the short things that speak in the short speaking scenes and things like that. So, it's very, 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 very cool. I have really enjoyed it. It's, we've talked about Streets of Rage on the show before. It's basically the same thing. Bad guys coming in, side scrolling. And it's an amazing game. I don't know what else to say.
What can I say? That's it.
It's amazing. You should play it. Especially if you are a fan of Ninja Turtles, obviously, you should play it. And if you're a fan of the classic arcade game and the classic Nintendo game,
Turtles in Time.
Yes. Any of those side-scrolling beat 'em up turtle games. It very much plays into that nostalgia. It very much does a good job. One thing that I am very curious about that I have not had an opportunity to explore is the multiplayer function on it, because you can play with up to 6 people. Because you've got
I'm no mathematician, but
there are only 4 turtles, right? So you have Leonardo, Raphael, Donatello, Michelangelo, April, and Splinter. So
nice.
You can play with up to 6 people. I would be very, very curious to see how that plays out with playing with a large group of people. I don't have that many friends, so I cannot do that. But and you do have the option of pairing up with random people. Through I feel like that would be less fun to me, but
yeah, that's true.
I've never been much of a random player, the kind of guy. I want to play against people I know. So, but yeah, it's very, if you have played any of those older, beat 'em up games, it's very much the same. It's very much the same thing.
Yeah.
A lot of the same thing. Graphics are great. It's just a lot of fun. It's a ton of fun to play. I highly recommend it. I don't know how much it is, because again, when I get games for free, I have a tendency.
Pass. It doesn't matter how much it is.
I have a tendency to just forget to look that up.
Oh yeah, things have cost.
Yeah. So let's see here. Tech Team. PS4, Xbox versions look like $35. Switch version $35. Yeah, so $35 for a brand new game. I'd say it's probably worth it.
They didn't just default to 60?
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where it's, it's not it's not, as graphically intense.
Yeah.
They were able to, I'm sure, probably borrow from some of the older games as far as the coding and things like that, but because it's very much just, straight up that. So
yeah.
There was something I was going to say, and I can't remember what, but if you could riff for a little bit, maybe I'll remember.
Oh, I can riff. I have a funny story that relates to Ninja Turtles, actually.
Oh, well, there we go. Well, we both have funny stories on Ninja Turtles.
In the amazing year of, I believe, 1993, I totally just have this memorized and didn't have to look it up. The Ninja Turtles 3 movie came out.
Oh gosh!
And the premise of that movie was they could time travel.
They found a magic. It was a magic little scepter thing.
It was like a lantern. Yep.
Yeah.
And that lantern is central to this story, actually.
Oh,
so
great!
It's funny you should mention that. They had this little lantern that they could time travel with, which was dumb. But that's neither here nor there.
No, that's the absolute worst. Like, there are 2 dark days in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles history. Like,
that's one of them.
That one and the live action TV show that they tried to make where they introduced the girl turtle, which most people don't know about, but it was awful. Anyway, so continue with your story.
When we were kids, my brother and sister and I were all very into Ninja Turtles, and we had, I kid you not, a bucket, a huge bucket of Ninja Turtle toys. And, you know, like everything, whenever a new movie comes out or a new show comes out, they put out toys themed around that movie.
You had the toy lantern, didn't you?
We had the toy lanterns.
Nice.
Like the little turtles with the lanterns. And the lanterns had this little ball in them. And here's the funny story. My brother got that ball stuck up his nose. And I know my brother listens to this show, so it's going to be even more funny when he hears this episode and calls me and we reminisce about that time.
Nice.
So we were, like, my dad had to travel for work, and we all as a family went with him. So my mom and my brother and sister and I were sitting in a hotel room playing with these toys, and my brother gets this ball stuck up his nose, and we have to go to a hospital in this random town where my dad was working to get this ball removed from his nose for the Ninja Turtle lantern.
That's funny.
So there you go. There's my riff.
Yeah,
totally
very nice.
Related to Ninja Turtles.
Very nice. That's awesome. So a couple other things that I, like, as you were talking, I was coming up with other things that I wanted to mention. So one of the things, if you're not familiar with beat 'em up games, they can be very challenging.
That's true.
Like, they are very difficult because
that's true.
For the most part, you're meant to play them with multiple people. Like, that's why, like, so playing through with one person can be hard, but this one does a good job of kind of balancing the fact that you do get plenty of extra lives. It's not like like if you die, it's game over, automatically. But there are things like you do take damage, and they have like these different challenges on each of the levels that you can try to accomplish. So there's a lot of replay value there in that. So I'd say for $35, like, now that I see what it costs and that it's available on Switch, like, I'm like,
I kind of want it on Switch.
I'm thinking I might drop that. But also along with that, they also recently dropped the we're talking about kind of the older versions of these games. They also recently dropped the Cowabunga Collection.
Of course.
Which is a collection of all of the old Ninja Turtles beat 'em up games. Which I haven't played this yet.
You guys can't see my face, but my jaw is on the floor.
But yeah, that was apparently released back in... no, it hasn't come out yet. That hasn't come out yet. Oh, yeah, so I was wrong. That's not out yet. But that is coming soon. So it includes 13 classic Ninja Turtle games.
Whoa.
So I don't know how far back that, or how far up that comes as far as the games that it includes, but yeah, I'm excited about that coming out whenever it does, and it does include Turtles in Time.
I love it.
So basically, all of those games that are coming out, that came out that were Ninja Turtle beat 'em up games, will be included on that. And looks like the initial release price for that is $40. So.
For 13 games?
Yeah. Huh. At least according to GameStop's website. So
we're holding you to this, GameStop.
Take that for what you will. You guys all know how I feel about GameStop.
We're holding you to that.
So yeah, you can actually pre-order that now, and if you want to, and So you could get, 14 games for $75 if you wanted to buy Shredder's Revenge now to hold you over until the Cowabunga collection comes out.
That's pretty cool.
So, yeah. So yeah, I like Shredder's Revenge. What I've played of it thus far. Obviously, I haven't beaten it because it's not something that I do. Which is only a partial truth because I have beaten games this year.
You've beaten games this year.
Just not recently. So, I've enjoyed Shredder's Revenge. It's been a great enjoyable thing, and I think that you should play it.
Yep.
So, but that'll do it.
I want to play that so bad.
Well, you should do it. $35, Ryan.
I know.
You can make that happen.
True.
Anyway, thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Dead Tired Dads podcast. We appreciate you, and we appreciate you listening. And if you want to hear us talk about a game, you should tell us that you want to hear us talk about a game, and we'll play it.
And we will play it.
And we'll talk about it. That's hypothetically what will happen.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah. But in the meantime, you should do all of the things,
yep,
such as like, subscribe, follow, share, and do all that stuff to help us share our joy and laughter and video game knowledge with other people. Thank you so much for listening. We really do appreciate it, and we will catch you next time on the next episode of the Dead Tired Dads podcast.
Bye!